Let's talk to director Edward Berger about his film Conclave. Edward, thank you for being on the show today. Such an honor. Great to meet you.
What do you mean? It's an honor for me. I grew up with film threat. Let's take our time here.
I cannot believe that. Okay, before we get to your film, and I'm dying to talk to you a little bit about All Quiet on the Western Front. You read Film Threat back in the day?
Yeah, I read Film Threat when I was at film school from 91 to 94 in New York. And I remember I stumbled upon it because Todd Phillips made this movie. What was that underground musician?
Hated the Gigi Allen and the Murder Junkie.
Gigi Allen, that movie.
Yeah.
And so that's how I stumbled on Film Threat.
Oh my gosh. And here you are today. This is amazing. A lot of people, I'm not sure how old you are, my age. Actually, I'm in my 50s. They read Film Threat in college and back in the 90s. So
exactly. That's what I did.
And here we are. Oh, well, it's an honor. All Quiet on the Western Front. I was fortunate to see it in a theater. I saw it at the Academy screening on their new screening room on Wilshire. Is amazing. That film blew my mind. The wall of sound, the effects, it's so immersive. Tell me a bit about that, and we'll discuss Conclave.
Well, God, that's so long ago. It feels like so long ago, but it isn't. Well, it's. I wanted, in a way, the sound, image, everything. I kind of wanted to crush the I guess the actor, like the character, right, as well as the audience, to make you feel what he's. I mean, there's tanks, there's fire, there's guns, there's everything running towards him, and that's going to be loud and crushing, and that to have that sort of experience of feeling small and insignificant and just a tiny speck in a sea of death, that was sort of an important feeling, I guess, to take away. And as you can imagine, people walked out of those screenings, and sometimes they wouldn't say very much.
Yeah, it really was just a visceral experience, the whole thing.
Okay, good. Then at least a little bit was
a little bit
achieved.
Conclave is a very, very different but immersive in its own way. What made you want to make this pivot from? And I'll say this: I'm glad you didn't do the typical thing of I'm going to go do a Marvel movie now. After making something like that, but Conclave, very different, immersive in its own way. What was the pivot from All Quiet to Conclave and choosing that project?
It's also, I mean, it's interesting because while feeling very different, and obviously you want to do, I mean, just imagine, we've been talking just imagine filmmaking like a conversation, you're talking about one thing for like 5 years and talking, you're talking it to death, basically. And at some point you think like, what, I'm really sick of this. I've said everything I could. Can I talk about the opposite, please? Yeah. And find out stuff that I don't know yet. Yeah. And through dialogue, through conversation. And you usually want to do a movie. I want to do a movie that I don't know anything about, that I feel like I'm unsure footing, unsure ground, that I'm scared of, that is a challenge that I don't know how to do, that I can learn something. I can feel like a student basically going there and be excited every morning to learn something and fill my curiosity and have that urge, have that itch be scratched basically. But in a way, it's also, if you look at it, it is possibly also similar to All Quiet in terms of, the attempt to make you feel what Ray Fiennes is feeling at any given moment. And I tried that with All Quiet, to throw you into this battlefield and run through it with Felix, that wonderful, wonderful actor. and in this case, Rafe is our eyes and ears into the conclave, into this world that we know nothing about, and we follow him, and we try to understand what he's thinking, and he takes us on this journey. And in the end, both movies have a sense of liberation, I guess. I mean, I don't think I'm giving anything away if I say, okay, Rafe goes he goes through this doubt, crisis of faith. And that's what really drew me to the movie, those inner struggle, that inner war with himself. Is he in the right place? Because I can identify with this, and I think a lot of people can. And thinking of like, am I in the right place? Am I the right guy for the job? Should I be doing something else? Should I be somewhere else? And that you just feel that you ideally go through this journey with him, and in the very end, he opens a window. The conclave is finished. He's been in the dark, oppressed, claustrophobic in this environment, and in the end, he opens a window and lets life back in, and smiles. And in All Quiet's case, he dies and is liberated through death, from this he's at peace in the end, but so it's, to me, it has a little bit similar journey, if I analyze it like a year later.
How did you pull together the cast for Conclave? I mean, it's a remarkable cast of heavyweights.
Well, they're all, I mean, I was really lucky that we developed the script for a long time and had a really tight script that gave great roles to a bunch of really good characters, that all have an arc. And that's what actors are looking for. They want, they want a good arc. They want a good character. They want to know, where do I start? Where do I end up? What's the journey? And what are the good scenes in between? And how is the filmmaker going to capture that? So I sent it to Rafe about, the original script when we started, because it's in the book that way, the character was Italian. And we kept working away at it. And one morning, and without any actor in mind. And one morning I woke up and I called Tessa Ross, the producer, and said, who it should be Rafe, because Rafe is someone who invites us into, behind his eyes. He's not the loudest character, he's not always sort of speaking, he's thinking more than speaking. And so he invites us into his brain, into his world of thoughts. And we sent it to him, and it took like a week. He read really quickly, really liked it. We met at a play of his and went to dinner afterwards. And then he said, great, let's do it. And then, if you have him, Rafe is known as a great actor. Every other actor loves him. Every other actor loves playing with him. And he's known as a very generous actor. He's someone who will give the performance of a lifetime from behind the camera, so that Stanley Tucci or John Lithgow or Lucien Musumati or Isabella can shine. And then basically everyone I sent to pretty much wanted to do it. And then it was more about, finding the right date so that everyone was available.
Yeah. The other thing that stood out to me from the film is the sort of the ritual, the processes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's almost the fetishization of the papers and putting them. I mean, I love that there was a focus on that. How real is that? How much research? I mean, I knew the thing about the smoke, right? But I did not know all the inner workings. How close is that to reality? And how did you achieve that?
Well, it's as close to reality as possible, as you can know. At some point, the doors of the conclave close and no one will tell you what they do behind those closed doors. That's why it's so interesting. But there's certain things that are known, like how do you vote? Like what are the prayers or what are the oaths that you say when you put that thing in the urn? How do you write your name on it or a name on it? And so those things, sort of the practicalities of it, are known. And I had a religion. First of all, Robert Harris, and Peter Strawn, the best screenwriter in the world, and a really great researcher as a novelist, did a lot of research, and I did a lot of research, talked to cardinals and so forth. So we had a lot of info. And then I had a great religion teacher on set who was my advisor basically for everything. And he knew a lot. He knew a lot. And those are the sort of the cornerstones that we put in. But at some point, he also said, well, no one knows, And I think that's the great thing about filmmaking, that we get license. It's a movie, so we get license. It's not a documentary, So we get license to create a reality, and have every department work, costume, makeup, camera, light, SFX, whoever, work away at creating frames that create a reality, manipulate a reality for the audience, and we dive into that world and make it believe, think that that's our reality for those 2 hours, and that's good for me. I mean, I love that about film, that we can create this. We have license to create a reality.
And the film is not particularly religious. It's more of a between the characters, at least. I feel like they're all playing a different game of chess in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I like that you liken it to a chess game, because that's what I thought when I first read the script. This is a really well constructed chess game. The script was, and I wanted to mirror that in the film language. And there is a chessboard in the beginning of the movie to sort of hint at that. And for me, it was, I wasn't, I'm not very religious. I'm not religious at all, actually. So I really wanted to, but I'm interested in the world of religion and faith, and in the world of the Vatican, and I look at it and I try to understand it, and I try to bring that close to the audience. And to me, the big inspiration were sort of the Pakula movies from the 70s, the Parallax View and All the President's Men, and those movies, because they are so precise, and they're so mysterious, and they're so full of claustrophobia and darkness and shadows, and Pakula directs the gaze of the viewer so well, and I wanted to try that with this movie.
I'm just curious how audiences are going to respond to it. I think they're going to expect that this will be spiritual or religious. Well, that's part of it. That's really not the big takeaway, I would say. I'm trying to not get specific, but I mean, I was fortunate to see it at an early screening. You were there and spoke. It was amazing how people reacted. It really, by the end, it almost plays like a thriller by the end.
Yeah, to me, it is a thriller. It has a lot of twists and turns, and you should go see it as a thriller, as a political thriller. It could take place in Washington. It could take place within a boardroom where people try to get the top. In essence, the top job is empty, and someone wants that gig, and 5 people are going to take out their daggers and stab the other in the back, so they get that gig. It means more power. It means everything, and this is one of the most powerful jobs in the world. So that's what I take away from it. And yet, there is, we treat the topic, because I do, the topic of religion with it's not a takedown. I don't want to take down the church.
Yeah.
I want to take all of them seriously, but I want to take them as humans, with all their flaws and mistakes and problems and weaknesses and insecurities and all that. And they're vaping, and they have cell phones, and, cardinals are not holy. For me, they're men, they're normal people that have all these problems that we have, and so that's how the movie tries to treat them.
I'm curious if the Vatican people from the Vatican, some representative might see the movie. What are you waiting for a response? Will they see it? I mean, I'm curious how they might take this film.
Well, I think they will see it exactly as that, because we're not we're not, it's not a takedown. And a lot of cardinals I spoke to before the movie, before the making of the movie, said, oh, we can't wait to see the movie. We're going to be watching it.
Oh,
So I think they will watch it. I mean, they watch movies, and
yeah.
of course they're going to watch a movie that deals with them. And ideally, they say, "Oh, that comes pretty close." You know, of course, we take some license, especially in the end. But they're going to say, I mean, I think my opinion is they're going to see that we treated it respectfully and try to be diligent and try to make it feel truthful, and try to make it engaging and fun for an audience. And but we also, you know, in the end, they probably say, you know, about the end, they probably say, you know what, it's just a movie, so let them just make the movie. That's how I would react if I were a cardinal.
Yeah, I just think we live in a time where the most minute thing becomes a controversy in the press. And I guess I'm bracing for reading some story about the film where there'd be a manufactured controversy. I don't see it as controversial. I hope if there is one that it only creates interest in the film.
Yeah,
So
I mean, of course there will be controversy, but I embrace that. You know, we've lost the ability to discuss, and discourse and discussion and disagreement is great. You know, why would we all agree? It's boring. You know, we want to have a, I want to have a different opinion from you and discuss with you and learn from you, you know, or we go out and say, you know what, I disagree, but that's fine. You know, we don't need to have the same opinion. And that's, we've lost that. And I think it'd be great if a movie can, you know, if we don't all become fundamentalists and say, oh, I'm not talking to this person, and I hate this person because he has a different opinion or he made this movie. You know, who cares? Let's talk about it and try to learn from each other. That's always my opinion.
that's my favorite. I love to disagree. And thanks for talking to me today. Congratulations on the film.
Thanks so much. Big honor. Love
All right.
talking to you.
Big honor for me. Take care. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Yep.